So the average is 26.72 there. Okay. So climate risk shows an increasing trend. Why? Due to this following reason: socio-economic factor, population, economic development, construction. And already we are experiencing like a 1 degree Celsius increase in temperature. And if nothing is done, if emission continues at this current rate, then the world will warm by more than 1.5 degrees Celsius by between 2030 and 2052. The implication of climate change on different sectors. Let's look at the food system. When I read the news, again, newspaper, then I saw that in 2024, over 600 acres of land were affected by flood in Nigeria. Of course, that will affect food production. Physical assets, we know how flood is in Lagos. When Lagos is flooded, roads are affected, people are displaced. Quality of life is going to be affected because when you have flood, we are going to have vector-borne diseases. In terms of productivity, when you have flood and the road is not motorable, what happens? Supply chain will be disrupted. So we really have a lot to do because we cannot afford to have this to affect our economy. Okay, so what can we do? How can we actually even understand or analyze climate risk? So one of the frameworks that was actually recommended by the HSO is this enterprise risk management. And for most of us here, I think we already know about ERM, which already incorporates in our internal models. But the idea here is, how can we incorporate climate risk into our internal model? First, so these are the steps to actually, to carry out the ERM, assessment, analysis, implementations, and monitoring, and then you go back again. So assessment part will be, what kind of risk are we even dealing with? Are we dealing with physical risk? Are we dealing with transition risk? Are we dealing with legal risk? Are we dealing with financial risk or operation risk? So we have to actually identify that first. And the second part will be the analysis part. To analyze the risk, we can use different methodologies, stress testing, scenario analysis. But since we are dealing with extreme events, I kind of use the extreme value theory here to kind of understand the distribution of rainfall pattern. And then the implementation and the monitoring part will basically be the strategies that we can use to mitigate this risk. Okay, so this is generalized extreme value theory. So as a mathematician, I still have to do some kind of calculation, but then since I'm talking to you guys, I will spare you all the mathematical details. So this is, here we use the, so this is not my updated page, slides, but I can work with this. Okay, so here, this is basically the distribution of the annual rainfall data for Nigeria. And then we're trying to understand the distribution of the data. And like I said, we use extreme value theory. So what I have in black, that's the empirical, that is the data from the database that we got. And then the modeled one is when we use the extreme value theory. So those are, we like to say, simulated data. And then we kind of fit the distribution. And as you can see, it works well. But then again, towards the tail, then we have the disparity again. Two things could have caused this. It could have been maybe overfitting or underfitting, but I didn't have enough time to actually dig into that. But what I can take away from this is that at least I can still use the extreme value theory to understand the distribution of rainfall pattern, especially when I'm looking at extreme rainfall pattern in Nigeria. And then I look at the return periods. So return period basically tell you how long will this occur again? Will it return again? And then, of course, when you look at here, so this is 2. Basically, it tells that after 2 years, I'm going to have a rainfall that will be more than, let's say, 50 millimeter per square meter in Nigeria. Okay, the future. What do I mean by the future? So the representative concentration pathway is basically a scenario whereby we try to look at what will happen in the future if we take actions to mitigate climate risk, or if we refuse to do anything about it. So these are the action side. So no mitigation action means we all neglect climate change or climate risk, and we just decide to live with what is happening. In that case, what will happen by 2050 is that the temperature impact will increase by 3.2 degrees Celsius. And what will be the impact on the GDP? The GDP is going to reduce by minus 18%. Now, if we kind of like maybe implement some mitigation actions, what will happen? Temperature can reduce, we can only have maybe 2.6 degree Celsius increase, and then GDP will reduce by 14%. Further mitigations, that is what will happen. Increment in temperature by 2 degrees Celsius, reduction in GDP by 11%. But then, if we all actually align with Paris Agreement, which is basically to keep the temperature below 2 degrees Celsius, then we are going to have the impact on the GDP is going to be minus 4%. Okay, so now let's look at some of the mitigation strategies. So let's start with the risk mitigation strategy. So one thing that there are different things that we can do, but one is carbon pricing. So what is carbon pricing? It's basically a process, I would say, where the government kind of like, they place a cap on carbon emission. So basically they tell every sector that you can only emit this amount of CO2. If you go above that, then you pay tax. If you emit CO2 that is below that cap, then you are good. You can even sell your credits to another company. So that is one way we can actually, reduce CO2 emission, basically translate from a low carbon economy from a high carbon economy to a low carbon economy. Another one would be carbon capture scheme, which is the CO2 are kind of captured and then they are stored in a place. And then reforestation. And this is the simplest thing, and I think this is what we should all actually work towards, reforestation, planting back trees. And then purchasing of insurance and reinsurance policy. So I will leave that to you guys because you are experts in that area. I was speaking with Ghani yesterday, and he was telling me about the product that his company actually developed for Lagos State in order to kind of like cushion the effect of flood risk in Lagos State, which I think is quite very insightful. And then another one will be hedging against underwriting risk by embracing climate resilient investment strategies such as infrastructure investment in flood control. Another one would be purchasing or promoting or even educating farmers, people about weather derivatives. So I put weather derivatives and carbon pricing in blue because I have 2 PhD students at the moment that are actually working on this topic, basically trying to understand carbon pricing and also developing a model for pricing weather derivatives. So again, apart from those strategies that I listed earlier, these are other things that I think we can do to effectively transition into a net zero or a low carbon economy. One way for those that are, so again, my research is more like intersection between financial math and actuarial science. So every now and then I talk about portfolio. So if you have a portfolio and you just want to incorporate climate risk into your portfolio, these are things that you can do, like adjustment of investment allocation in the portfolio, try to incorporate more green assets, renewable energy, assets into your portfolio. And then partnership, and then establishment of a task force. So again, still on adjustment of investment allocation, low carbon technology, like I said, renewable energy can reduce potential portfolio risk exposure, and then partnership. So I emphasized on this yesterday when I was talking to the lecturers, and I will say it again, we need to partner with government, stakeholders, and even our peers to actually, to actually even mitigate climate risk. For example, so in the morning, Katina mentioned what India is doing in the sense that now the CBN of India, they now kind of like enforce the local banks to incorporate climate risk into their internal models. So that is one thing I think we can do as well. So we can actually look into what other countries are doing and then try to try to see how we can actually adopt those strategies into what is going on in Nigeria. And the partnership with peers will be, let's look into other insurance companies from other countries. Kenya are doing well with regards to flood risk for their farmers. What can we borrow or learn from Kenya as a country? So that is what we can do when we partner with our peers. And of course, establishment of task force and education is very important. I think it's very important that every sector, be it energy sector, finance sector, agricultural sector, we try to start talking about climate risk seriously. We need to set up committees that will do research and educate the board of directors or even people in the organization on climate risk and how we can mitigate the risk. So since I still have time, then let's talk about AI for climate change. So this particular part, even though I have idea of what I'm going to put on the slides, but I decided to ask AI itself, that tell me how you think you can actually solve the problem of climate change in Nigeria. And then it says, okay, benefits of using AI for climate risk management. Basically, we improve predictive modeling, which I quite agree, because when my students were working on climate data, trying to understand the distribution of different climate events, rainfall, temperature, some of them actually use machine learning to actually, to understand the behavior, the pattern, the distribution of rainfall and temperature. So that is one thing that we can use AI for. We can level on AI to kind of like understand the distribution, the pattern, and able to forecast, right, to know what could happen in the next 5 years, in the next 2 years, in the next 1 year. Faster and scalable analysis, informed decision-making, localized risk communication, and advanced visualization. And this advanced visualization is what they are already doing in Kenya. Because I was in Kenya like 2 weeks ago, and I spoke with one of the guys in the insurance company, and he said, oh, yeah, we have this geospatial machine that we use to kind of like survey, and then we can actually forecast and predict what is going to happen, all those stuff. So I think that is one of the things that we can level on, we can use AI to do in order to kind of mitigate climate risk. And then the challenges and the limitation of AI, of course, data. Climate data, if a data in general is very difficult to get, and then climate data is even more difficult to get. Like I said, we are only able to get data from 2000 to 2024, and we only got it from the airport here in Lagos. So getting data is one big problem, and even biases in data too, that's another problem. The infrastructure cost definitely is not cheap, and so difficulty in explaining or validating AI or all these algorithms, that is another problem, because again, it's difficult to actually check for fairness, right? Or even for ethics in most of these algorithms. And okay, and then digital device, so unequal access to AI benefits in rural or low-income areas. Because I'm sure if we're going to start using AI to even understand weather pattern in Nigeria, we're likely going to start from Lagos, right? So, but we need to actually think of how we can actually deploy all these instruments or this knowledge to not only, urban city like Lagos, but also to rural areas in Nigeria. Okay, so in conclusion, climate risk in Nigeria, they are real, so rising and unevenly distributed, data gaps and limited modeling, definitely hinder proactive planning. Vulnerable populations face the greater exposure and least protection. And on that, I actually have, an ongoing research with another colleague on how people living with disability are very vulnerable when it comes to climate risk, because when there is rainfall, it's very easy for people to just quickly carry themselves and their family to run somewhere, but someone with disability that needs help, then the person will not get any help. And nobody is talking about that group of people in Nigeria. So what can we do to protect the vulnerable people when we talk about climate risk? Low insurance penetration widen the protection gap. AI and geospatial tools can enhance risk detection and planning. Like I said, Kenya, they're already doing that. And I think that is all I want to talk about. Thank you all for listening. Okay. I think I still have one slide, but it's not working.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We've actually, if there are any questions for anybody? Thank you. Oh, we'd like to present you with a gift. Thank you very much for speaking. Okay, thank you very much. So we have our next speaker, the transformative power of resilience, Menikobe Bode from Africa Re. She's going to talk about how getting the balance of personal resilience right helps fuel growth for people and businesses. She's a risk manager at the Africa Re Group. She has over a decade of experience across Africa's insurance and reinsurance sectors in actuarial, risk management, credit ratings and compliance. Her journey includes leading actuarial and risk management departments at Ghana Reinsurance Company and Enterprise Life in Ghana. And she transitioned from working in finance with Goldman Sachs International and the Royal Bank of Scotland, part of NatWest Group, previously in her career in London. She's an associate member of the Actuarial Society of Ghana and a part-qualified actuary with the IFOA. She holds an international certificate in enterprise risk management from the Institute of Risk Management UK and an MSc and postgraduate diploma in actuarial science and actuarial management from Bayes Business School, City University in London. Her passion for both her profession and family fuels her commitment to authenticity, growth and meaningful impact. Her story embodies the essence of thriving when life and the economy demands a new kind of strength. Thank you very much.
Hello. The transformative power of internal resilience. How much resilience do we all need? This much? Too much, and we close down, not taking any chances. Too little, and I think we get knocked down by circumstances. How then do we build the right amount? Now, we all know the impact that the economy can have on everything that we do. But what I want to talk about today is the impact that our human potential, our internal resilience can have on everything that we do. Deloitte's 2024 Global Human Trends Report listed resilience as an enduring key human capability that we need in today's workspace. And I think it's still valid for 2025. Very resonates with even the theme of the Actuarial conference today. Now, I have recently come to appreciate 3 things that have helped to build my internal resilience, and I hope that you find some of these tips useful. Okay. I can see the ears all waiting for these tips. So increasing my internal resilience, it really helped me to persevere, and, well, not only persevere, but really thrive and grow again. My focus today, like I said, will be about looking at the power we as individuals have to transform and grow with no matter what the situation. Now, just by adding a few extra daily practices in your day can help you build this internal resilience. And that's what I've come to realize. I know that daily practices can be hard, but I will suggest just make a start, try and get on with it, There might be days where you don't feel like it or you forget, but just pick yourself up and then do continue. The first thing I learned was always be determined to grow. Laterally is fine, but have that determination to grow. Now, my professional journey, as you've heard a bit in my bio, it started out really well. I started straight out of university, got a job at Goldman Sachs in London. I was learning, I was working, I was thriving. I didn't even realize I needed internal resilience. It just seemed to come naturally. And I mean, straight out of university, I'm sure the young ones here, they have all the energy, and we've seen it, you know? I had that determination to grow, and I knew that when I did the job well, the recognition will follow. The paycheck, the bonus, the promotion. But for me, it wasn't really about the bonus. It was really about growing in a job that I loved. Did I want to be the MD of my department? Or even maybe the CEO of Goldman Sachs? A girl can dream, right? But discovering lateral growth, it made me yearning for what next. What was I, Meikoba, going to be doing with this new Western experience that I'd gathered? You know, I wanted to come back home to my home country and use that experience to create value for the economy that I grew up in. And that's when I discovered the actuarial profession. I joined the IFOA, and I forged a path for myself in building an actuarial career. I was set on becoming an actuary and coming to live in Ghana. It was not an easy road, switching careers. So like you heard, I was in banking, and now I wanted to do actuarial science. In those days, the bankers didn't know what actuarial science was, and they didn't care. But nothing builds resilience like change. I did wonder, was I doing the right thing? I was used to the promotions and the bonus and the paycheck. Did I really want to be studying actuarial subjects and all these big files that you get in those days? It's all online now, so, you know. But those days, there were all these big files that came through the post. But I was determined. I knew that it was certainly helpful for my professional journey, and it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to move forward, and I wanted to continue growing. Constantly moving forward and changing builds resilience. And it's that transformation that I want to share with you, basically. It helps in building growth, in helping you to grow. Professional journey or your personal journey, it all helps. Now, whether you're going up the career ladder, rising through the ranks, or you're growing laterally, it's all helping with the growth, with your personal experience, and then translating it to your professional journey. Somewhere along the path of trying to accomplish this actuarial journey, my family life took over. Life took over. And at some point, I noticed that that youthful exuberance of my early career, it didn't last. It seems I grew up, or I grew older. Fast forward a few good years and 3 children later, let me share my second big learning with you. Light bulb moment. There are always challenges. I know, you grow up and you realize some of these things. There are different shapes and sizes of challenges, and you can't run away from them. But you need to find what you need to do to get through them or rise above them, basically. Don't allow yourself to get stuck in the challenges. After my 3rd child, I took some time off work. Now, I needed that break. I felt overwhelmed and confused at times. The break was refreshing to start, but I missed the work life. I realized I needed to get back to work, and I wanted to get back to work. Now, how was I going to do that? I used the break to do some reflection, figure out what I wanted to do, and then put myself out there. My confidence was thrown a little. I wasn't certain that I was up to speed with the changes in the workplace. Since I had left, I was feeling down in the dumps sometimes. Like I saw, there was some confusion, overwhelmed. I wasn't sure I was even still capable at the same level. In the midst of that turmoil, I discovered my inner resilience. I took some reflecting on my life and my goals. And it led me to realize, like I said, I wanted more, and I wanted to do more. I could do more. And I also learned that there is power in putting yourself out there. So is anyone here is contemplating, can I do this? Should I do that? Don't contemplate too much. Just get a start. Make a start with it. I got back onto the job market. And imagine my confidence boost when I had 3 opportunities come my way. That was very nice. I settled for the role more familiar to me. I knew the company, I knew the culture, I knew the team. I was sorted. I started working, I got back on track, I was enjoying life. Then came an exciting new opportunity, a job offer to join a Pan-African company here in Nigeria. Now, most of you know sort of the story from there. But I had nerves moving to Nigeria. I mean, I was comfortable in Ghana, I was settled, now I had to, make this change again. Leaving my family behind, stepping into the unknown, so to speak. But my team has been great, my boss has been supportive. Give her a thumbs up, give her a clap. She's in the audience today. And I mean, it's not easy. Anyone who's done the relocation knows. But having that support, making new friends, exploring new challenges, and just having that support network, it really helps. And then, of course, your inner resilience, having the positive mindset. It's been exciting, channeling my inner resilience and building that confidence again, or knowing that I have that confidence and that I can do more. Now, for the third learning point, and that daily activity I'm sure you've all been waiting for. Occasionally, there was this feeling of being stuck. I think I had built too much resilience. Just got my head down, got on with the daily tasks. I was forgetting to look up, to write in my corner, to grow again, to breathe. And I realized sometimes change can cloud your vision. It makes you question, are you doing the right thing? It makes you question your judgment. But you need to find that inner balance, or that balance within you, that inner resilience. For me, I engaged a coach, and together we pulled the cloud away. One of her techniques that I want to share with you, this daily activity, was what we call the daily 3s. She said to me, stop looking at what you haven't accomplished, and just pick 3 things that you've done well, you feel you've done well. It doesn't have to be work-related, just anything you've done well in the day, and note them down, and appreciate those things. And for me, that started to make me feel good again about myself. It wasn't about, I haven't finished this, I have to do this tomorrow, I have to do this tomorrow. I've done this, I should feel proud about myself for doing this, and then I can move forward. So I started those activities, and it's one key thing I would suggest. If you're not doing it already, try doing it for a few weeks and see how you feel. Resilience, according to a recent McKinsey report, is the ability to bounce back from adversity and thrive in the face of challenges. It's essential for navigating uncertainty and adapting to change. And for me, I have no doubt in my mind that it is the resilience on the inside that drives the growth on the outside. A quote I came across recently from an American author, Elizabeth Edwards. She happened to write a book on resilience, and in case you're looking for it, it's called Resilience, the New Afterword. She said, she stood in the storm, and when the wind did not blow her away, she adjusted her sails. For me, I'm here saying, don't give up, adjust your sails, let your inner resilience transform your storms to calm the waters, and the rainbows will come shining. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have we got any questions for Menikoba? No? All right, thank you. We've got a gift for you. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yep. Oh, okay, question, okay.
Yeah, so I think resilience is good, but is it also bad to break down once in a while?
When you have too much resilience.
What has your coaching experience been, and your experience? So that's the first question. Is it bad to also break down once in a while? And then The second question is, like, resilience is, I guess, when we listen to your profile, your resilience is built on substance. I don't know if, professionally, people feel they want to hire you because obviously professionally you worked for Goldman Sachs, you went to this school. I mean, so I'm just trying to make sure that, people walk away knowing that, resilience, there has to be some substance for you to build it on as well.
Yeah, so, like I said in the introduction, too much resilience can get you to sort of close down. It can almost suppress, and I guess then you have the breakdown, burnout, depression. So it's really about finding that balance. You need to try and keep your head above water. You need to recognize, appreciate the little things. Because sometimes you just get bogged down with so many other things. You don't appreciate even just the little things. So we really need to just pace ourselves. It's not a sit back, lie in the sun chair, cross your legs sort of thing. But, have that drive, keep working at it. But know you need to pause sometimes and appreciate the steps that you've accomplished.
Thank you very much. If we show our appreciation. Thank you. So we've got the final words today, the wrap-up session from Mayowa. You here? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we have another round of applause for all our speakers so far today? I don't know about you, but I think it's been a wonderful event in its entirety. And guess what? We still have one more day, right? So I'll just be taking us through like a summary of everything that we've discussed today. I'll try not to dwell too much, but the idea is just to have us remember some of the highlights and the high points from some of the speakers that we've had. So we started off the day with the welcome speech, as well as opening keynote from Mr. Usman Jankara Jimadi. That's the Deputy Commissioner for Insurance, the Deputy Commissioner for at NICOM. And we had the opening speech by our President of the Nigerian Actuarial Society, Jolaolu Fakoya. In that keynote speech, Mr. Jankara mentioned something that stuck with me. He did admit that the industry has shown growth and resilience, which pretty much in my own mind means that we're not where we used to be, right? There has been some growth. But remember that there's this saying, I think I started work in the insurance industry in 2013. And there was a statement that was made then that they still make now, and it bothers me. They talk about insurance penetration in Nigeria. I think they put it at around, it's less than so percent, you understand? Like saying insurance penetration in Nigeria is less than 3%. And they still make that same statement even today, with the same percentage, almost like it's not moving. But nevertheless, we have grown as an industry. We're not where we used to be. And there is space for growth going forward. So I picked that from his speech. And of course, he gave us the charge to further collaborate so that we can build the industry. After that, maybe not in the order that it was supposed to happen, we had the talk about driving value and resilience, where Cartina Thompson, the IFOA president, shared the IFOA's vision, right, with us. And she started by asking us why resilience to begin with, and she then took us through the what of resilience and how we would come about this resilience. Of course, she gave us the call for action also. We had a segment on insurtech and value creation in a changing economic landscape. That was delivered by the MD of AICO, Babatunde Fajemiroku. And he spoke about what AICO is doing as a business in driving insurtech and using technology to try to further our goals as an industry. Of course, again, he gave the charge that actuarial insights were very crucial, or are very crucial, in empowering the sector, empowering smart innovation through models, through our models and through achieving a balance between technology and customer needs. He showed us what AICO itself is doing in the space of insurtech. He even took us through some of the developments they've made within the company. He showed us FlexSure and some of the numbers that they've seen coming through. Of course, thereby stating that there's a whole lot of room for growth for the entire industry if everybody decides to toe that line and to bring in technology a whole lot more into the space. He also mentioned something that stuck with me. He said in 5 years' time, he envisions a transformed insurance landscape. I think we all look forward to that. Then we had the keynote speech from Dr. Rabi Olo, who's the Executive Secretary of the FRC. And he reminded us of what we've done so far, that is, with respect to the FRC working with the actuarial community. I think we've had a whole lot of discussions on how to drive things forward, and he made some promises that we are looking forward to cashing in on, so to speak. If you know, you know, right? Okay. After that, I think we had a few breaks here and there. Don't worry, I'll focus on the breaks. Then we had a talk on AI for actuaries. Of course, you're not going to have a conference in 2025 and not mention AI. I saw an ad in which someone was making a presentation to his board, and the presentation was kind of boring, and they were not really feeling what he was saying. Then at some point, he looked to his partner and just said, "Oh, there's one more thing that we want to show you guys." And he just said, AI. And everybody sat up in the room like, okay, yeah. What are you saying? Then he said, AI. Then he said, AI, and they all got excited. It was an ad, by the way. But the idea is you're not going forward in any sector, in any profession, or on any endeavor if you don't embrace what AI means for technology and for the way we do things going forward. And I think from that talk, I think we've been made into AI gurus, pretty much, because it was a hands-on one. Okay, we had a panel discussion where we had some of our experts, Professor Ismaila Adeleke, we had Dr. Aminu of NAS, and we had our own Jola Olufakoya, the president of NAS, where they spoke, where they spoke at length about education in the actuarial space in Nigeria. And I think in mapping out some of the challenges that we faced, we keep saying there's a dearth of actuaries. There are only less than 10 actuaries, less than 20 actuaries. At the end of the day, especially for those that may have crossed the divide to become actuaries, there's still a responsibility for all of us to still pitch in. If we are going to grow the community, we need more actuaries. And it goes beyond just waiting for other people to just become actuaries like that. Of course, we know it wasn't like that for us. And we know that those coming behind, they need as much help as they can get. So, I don't know, it's just to follow up on what has been discussed to ensure that we are all collaborative in tackling the challenges, in ensuring that we have more actuaries in Nigeria, in Africa, as well as across the globe, because, I mean, we're still in demand everywhere. If you agree with me, say yeah. All right. Sorry, I'm fishing through my notes here to put it all together. All right, we had a talk on insurtech in Nigeria. So a little bit more about what technology is doing and within the space, and what we need to do to drive it and how we can use it to achieve goals along the lines of resilience, which is the theme. Of course, we had a talk by Jay Kosgei from Zamara, and he spoke about the East African experience of RBC. Then, much more recently, we had the talk about modeling climate risk, the framework for modeling climate risk, where Dr. Tolulope Fadino shared some of the work that she's been doing, the results of our research, as well as mitigating strategies concerning climate risk. Then finally, we had that beautiful talk by Menyikoba on the transformative power of resilience. Of course, as she was speaking, I couldn't help but think about some of the times in my personal life I've had to draw on some type of resilience to keep going. I remember days when I'm coming off of, say, 2 failures while trying to become an actuary. And my then boss, a certain Kingsley Miller, was shouting on my head for a particular report, and I was asking myself, wait, how did I even get here? But of course, on such days, you look at the same Kingsley Miller, and you go like, look, he has followed this path. So he's the one I'll follow still, his example, as well as those I've gone before. And you draw upon the resilience, you find it. But the key thing, just like Menyikoba mentioned, is not to give up. What did I say? Is not to, so don't give up, right? No matter what it is, no matter how hard it is, it might not be actuarial exams, right? We are saying actuarial exams because we are here in an actuarial gathering talking about hard things. The hardest thing that we can think of are actuarial exams. That's why that's our example, right? But whatever it is you are going through, I mean, don't give up. So it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you do what? You stand right back up. And Menyikoba did mention that resilience itself is defined by the ability to bounce back from adversity. And she quoted, interestingly, she quoted herself on a slide, which was a beautiful thing. She said, the resilience on the inside drives the growth on the outside. I actually agree. That's everything I had noted down, and I think that's like a wrap-up of everything we did today. Please stay tuned, so to speak, or return for tomorrow's session. It promises to be a wonderful one also. Thank you very much.
Item 7 has already been served. No more item 7. Enjoy the rest of your evening. See you tomorrow morning. Thank you, everyone. 8 a.m. tomorrow, please. Thank you.